Hi everyone. In this video, we will discuss the heating effect of electric current and Joule's law of heating from the CBSE grade 10th physics syllabus. So we will discuss the numericals of the Joule's law of heating as well as we will see the applications of heating effect of electric current from physics syllabus of grade 10th CBSE. So if you like the videos, you share this channel as well as all the videos in your friends and family. So without any delay, let's start today's video. Before moving further, we will just revise what we have learned in the previous class. So in the previous class, we have seen that resistance is a physical property of a conductor or a material to oppose the flow of current or charges. That means whenever charges are moving inside the conductor or material, that material will oppose. So we know the relation R is equal to V by I from the Ohm's law. So for any conductor for the given temperature, this particular ratio V by I, that is potential difference upon current, that resistance will be always constant. We know the SI unit of resistance, that is ohm. We have also seen the resistivity, which is constant property of a material denoted by rho, which determines how strongly any material resists or conducts the electric current through it. That constant property of a material is known as what? Resistivity. We took the example of thick wire and thin wire, in which we found that resistivity of both the wires will be same as material is same, but its resistance will be different, so as it is a thicker wire and thinner wire. So resistance depends on the length and area of cross section of a given material, but resistivity is a constant property for the given material. So we can say resistivity depends on nature of material and temperature. As temperature increases, resistivity will also increase. We have also seen the proportionality relationships, how resistance depends on different factors. So the first factor is length of a conductor or length of a material. So if longer the material, the resistance will be higher. That means resistance is directly proportional to the length of the material. So we can write R is directly proportional to L. So if we are provided with the two conditions having length L1 and L2, then we can frame the proportionality in the way R1 upon R2 is equal to L1 upon L2. So the next condition or next factor on which resistance depends, that factor is area of cross section. So if area of cross section is more, that means we are using the thick wire, then in that case the resistance of that particular wire will be less. So that means resistance is inversely proportional to area of cross section. So we can write R1 upon R2 will be equal to A2 upon A1. We have also discussed that if we cut any wire, we will get a circle as the cross section. That means whenever we say here area of cross section, we are taking area of circle. So we know the area of circle is pi r square. So if we put that value here, we will get pi r2 square divided by pi r1 square. So this pi will be cancelled and we will get r2 by r1 square. So we can write this relation as r1 upon r2 is equal to r2 by r1 whole square. So if resistance and radius is given, then we can use this relation. So third property or third factor on which resistance depends is material. So different materials will obviously have different resistance. And fourth one is temperature. Resistance is directly proportional to temperature. As temperature increases, resistance also increases. But in case of alloys, that will be inverse. That means as the temperature increases, the resistance of alloys will decrease. So these are four factors on which resistance depends. We have also seen that the significance of resistivity. What is the use of resistivity? So as we can see here, resistivity of metals and alloys is very low, in the range of 10 raised to power minus 8 ohm meter. It is ohm here. So the resistivity of metals and alloys is very low, in the range of 10 raised to power minus 8 ohm meter to 10 raised to power minus 6 meter. What this implies? This implies that these metals and alloys will conduct the electric current easily, as their resistivity is low, so they are the good conductors. So in case of insulators, the resistivity is very high, in the range of 10 raised to power 12 ohm meter to 10 raised to power 17 ohm meter. So in this case resistivity is very high, so obviously they will oppose the flow of current, so they are the bad conductor of electricity. So this much we have seen in the previous video. We have also solved the numericals of resistivity. So now in this particular video we will see the heating effect of electric current and Joule's law of heating. So moving further, so what exactly the heating effect of electric current? Before that, we can observe that electric current is nothing but the electrical energy, and we use that electrical energy in the form of electric current. So same electric current can produce many effects. One of the effect is heating effect. So what are the other effects? Let's see. So the first effect that we have seen due to the electric current or electric current produces, that is magnetic effect. So we know the motor in which we switch on the motor and that particular circuit actually, and we see that particular electrical energy is converted into mechanical energy as motor rotates. So this was one effect, that means electric current produces magnetic effect also. Then we have seen the chemical effect. You might have heard that whenever we produce a current in a aqueous solution of any salt, the ions will be separated, and the separated ions will be deposited on one of the electrode. So as you can see in the figure, these are the two electrodes on which we can get any particular ions, the collection of ions. Ions accumulate there and we can deposit the particular metal. So the different methods like galvanizing, electroplating, that particular methods uses this phenomena. So these are two effects, magnetic effect and chemical effect produced by electric current. The next effect that we are going to see in this particular video is heating effect. As we know, these are some electrical appliances that we use in our day-to-day life, that is electric iron, electric heater, electric oven, electric bulb. In all these appliances, the electric current is converted into some different energy that we use, and obviously that is heat energy. So this particular heating effect leads us to the application of conversion of electrical energy into heat energy in the different appliances. So moving further, what exactly is the heating effect of electric current, that we will discuss here. Heating effect of electric current means nothing but whenever we pass any electric current through any conductor, we are passing the electric current through the conductor. Obviously that conductor should be of a high resistance. Then that conductor becomes very hot. Why it becomes very hot? It becomes very hot due to the high resistance, obviously. So that particular phenomena is known as what? Heating effect of electric current. So again, let's listen. When an electric current is passed through the conductor of a high resistance, the conductor becomes very hot and that heat energy can be utilized. So this particular phenomena is known as what? Heating effect of electric current. So the question comes, why it becomes very hot? Obviously you keep in mind that that particular conductor is of high resistance. That's why it becomes very hot, and we can use that heat energy for a different purpose. So let's see how that particular conductor becomes very hot. In the previous video we have seen in the basic concept of electric current, the free electrons are present in a conductor. So these free electrons will be attracted towards the positive terminal of a battery or a cell due to the potential difference. And in the definition of potential difference, we have seen that this potential difference is nothing but what? Work done per unit charge. So you also know that in the 9th standard, any kind of work done is nothing but the energy. So here we can say that the free electrons will be attracted toward the positive terminal only due to the potential difference, and we create a potential difference by keeping a battery or a cell. So moving further, what this implies? This implies that whenever free electrons are provided with any kind of energy or potential difference, that particular creates the different form of energy, that is electrical energy, that we know as a current, and this current is utilized by the electrical appliances. So this particular current is utilized by the material or conductor or any appliance, and in this appliance we have seen that the like electric iron or electric fan or any particular bulb, what happens, this particular iron will resist the flow of current, resist the flow of free electrons, and this circuit becomes purely resistive. And whenever that circuit becomes purely resistive, we will see that high resistance will be created and more heat, large amount of heat will be generated. So if you take another example of fan, here in this case this is a normal circuit, because as compared to the mechanical energy, heat energy produced is very less. So आपने देखा होगा कि फैन उतना ज़्यादा गर्म नहीं होता जितना कि आयन होता है. सो इसका मतलब क्या है कि इलेक्ट्रिक आयन में जो सर्किट है वो प्योरली रेजिस्टिव सर्किट है, वहां पे करंट को रेजिस्टेंस क्रिएट होता है, इसलिए वो ज्यादा हॉट होता है एज कंपेयर टू द फैन. सो फैन इज अ नॉर्मल सर्किट इन विच करंट फ्लोज एंड लो रेजिस्टेंस इज देयर, सो लो हीट इज प्रोड्यूस. सो ऑल द एनर्जी इज कन्वर्टेड इनटू मैकेनिकल एनर्जी इन केस ऑफ फैन, and in case of electric iron most of the energy is converted into heat energy. So there is a transformation of energy, that is electrical energy is converted into heat energy in case of electric iron, and in case of fan electric energy is converted into heat as well as mechanical energy, but the amount of mechanical energy is more as compared to the heat energy. So this obeys the law of conservation of energy. Energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, just it transfers from one form into another. Moving further, so let's see the examples. We have 3 examples here. One is electric bulb, another one is electric heater. So if you observe these two appliances, in electric bulb the circuit is purely resistive, that means it will oppose the flow of current heavily, so high resistance will create a large amount of heat, and most of the energy is converted into heat, and if it glows, if it becomes hot, then it will glow, so some of the energy will be converted into light. And in case of electric heater, most of the energy is converted into heat, so again it is a purely resistive circuit, high amount of resistance is created there and large amount of heat is generated. But if you take the example of motor, here less heat is generated and most of the energy is converted into mechanical energy, because it is a normal circuit and we need the output energy as a mechanical energy so that any object can rotate with the help of motor. So this is the basic difference. In a purely resistive circuit, most of the energy is converted into heat energy and we call it as a heating effect of electric current. So any material gets heated whenever current flows through it, but that depends on the resistance of a material. If the resistance is very high, then large amount of heat is generated. So to create a large amount of heat, we must use the appliances which has a large amount of resistance. So moving further, what exactly is the Joule's law of heating? The scientist Joule predicted and experimentally found that heat energy produced in a resistor is directly proportional to the square of current. So that means if we increase the amount of current, the heat energy produced will also increase. Next quantity for which the current is related, obviously that is a resistance. So again, if we are saying that if current is increased, heat is also increasing, that means obviously resistance will also affected. So now here if we take higher amount of resistance, higher amount of heat will be generated. So we can frame the proportionality according to Joule. Heat energy produced is also directly proportional to the resistance of a given circuit. So obviously it depends on the time also. So heat energy produced depends on 3 quantities. One is current, another one is resistance, and third one is what? Time. So we can write like this: H is directly proportional to I square, that means heat energy produced is directly proportional to the square of current. We can also write the same law in the second statement. Actually the heat energy is directly proportional to resistance, or we can also write heat energy is directly proportional to the time for which current flows through the resistor or any appliance or any conductor. So combining all these 3 equations, we can get a Joule's law fitting in the form of mathematics. We will discuss later on. So the statement clearly indicates that whatever the heat energy is produced, that heat energy is directly proportional to the square of current, directly proportional to the resistance of the circuit, and directly proportional to the time for which current is flowing through the circuit. So let's see how we can frame the equations. So here heat energy is directly proportional to the square of current, heat energy is directly proportional to the resistance, and heat energy is directly proportional to the time. So if you combine all these, we will get H is equal to I square RT. You know the symbols and the quantities. I represents current flowing through the circuit, R represents resistance, T represents time for which current is flowing, and H is the heat energy developed in the circuit. So you might have confusing here that why there is no constant while converting proportionality into the equation. This proportionality is converted into the equation here, and there is no particular constant, but you know that resistance itself is a constant quantity, so there is no need to take a new particular constant quantity here. So Joule's law of heating will give us the relation between four quantities: heat energy developed, resistance, current, and for time for which current is flowing through the circuit. So let's move further and we will see how we can prove the Joule's law of heating. For that purpose, as you know, Joule's law gives us the relation between four quantities. That four quantities are H, that is heat energy developed, then electric current, resistance, and time. So for this purpose, we need to assume one circuit in which we can imply all these four quantities. So let's imagine the circuit of resistance R connected in a circuit as shown in figure, and let's suppose that current I is flowing through the circuit across a potential difference of V, and for the time let's see T. So consider a resistor of resistance R which is connected in a circuit as shown in figure. Let current I flows through it, and when potential difference across it is V. Suppose that T be the time for which current flows through the given resistor. So we know the relation V is equal to W by Q. That is the definition of potential difference, work done to bring a charge from one point to another. So that work done per unit charge is nothing but the potential difference. So what we need? We need to find the heat energy, and you know that work is nothing but the energy. So we can write a W is equal to V into Q. So work done is equal to V into Q. So this work done will be stored in the form of heat energy. So here our ultimate target is to find the heat energy. So work done is equal to VQ, and this work done is nothing but the heat energy developed during the flow of current. So we can write EH, that is heat, will be equal to VQ. But again we know the Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. So instead of V we can use IR, and we also know the definition of current, I is equal to Q by T. So we can write Q is equal to IT. We can also use this, or else we can use V is equal to IR. So let's see what we get if we are using all these equations. So H is equal to VQ, and instead of V we can write IR, or instead of Q we can write IT. That is the definition of electric current, a rate of flow of charge I is equal to Q by T. So instead of Q we can write IT. So we will get H is equal to VIT. And again if we put the definition of Ohm's law, we can get V is equal to IR, and in H we can write IR into IT. So I into I becomes I square, and we will get final relation H is equal to I square RT. So in this way we can prove the Joule's law of heating, which is the relation between four quantities: heat energy developed, current flowing through the circuit, and resistance of the circuit, and time for which current flows through the circuit. So we can say here, as R itself is a constant, we can say heat energy produced in a circuit is directly proportional to the square of current. Heat energy produced in a circuit is directly proportional to the resistance, and it is also directly proportional to the time for which current is flowing through the circuit. It is very obvious that if let's say let's take one example of, let's say, electric iron is there, and we are using it for larger amount of time, and we allow current to pass through it for larger amount of time, obviously it will becomes very hot. So that implies us that heat energy is directly proportional through the time. If we increase the amount of current, then also heat energy developed will increase. So let's see what are the applications of the Joule's law of heating or the heating effect of electric current. So these are three major applications. You can observe them in day-to-day life. First example or application we can say is electric heating is used to produce light, as in electric bulb. It is also used in fuse of an electric circuit to protect the appliance. You know why fuse is used, that we will discuss in the later part of this video. So in the electric fuse also the heating effect is used. In many appliances where we use the heat energy like electrical heater, electric oven, then electric iron, we can use the heating effect of electric current. So there are four important points regarding the electric bulb. The bulb filament should retain as much amount of heat as possible, due to which it becomes very hot and it can radiate the light. Second, filament should not melt at high temperature. If it melts, then circuit will be broken and therefore we will not get light energy. So the filament should becomes very hot, but it should not melt. So that's why the bulb filaments are made up of a metal like tungsten, which is having very high melting point of nearly 3380 degrees Celsius. So next one, that question is asked for many times, why there are inert gases, or we can say chemically inactive nitrogen inside the bulb. So the presence of these inert gases is to increase the life of bulb filament. So we can say here, to prolong the life of bulb filament, the bulbs are usually filled with chemically inactive nitrogen and argon gases. And the last point here is important, that most of the power consumed by the filament appears as heat and small part is radiated in the form of light. So there is a continuous transformation of electrical energy into heat and light, but very small part of light is very small part of electrical energy is converted as a light energy, and large amount of electrical energy is converted into heat energy. So the important question on this topic is about the electric fuse. You might have observed at home in the board there is one small or a large electric fuse. The purpose of this electric fuse is to break the circuit whenever there is a large amount of current flows through the circuit spontaneously. So to avoid that, we are using the electric fuse. So what is fuse? Fuse is a piece of wire made up of a metal or alloy of appropriate melting point. Why? There is a word appropriate. So if for a given circuit, if we let's say 1 ampere of current is essential, and if current flowing through that appliance is of 2 ampere, then that appliance will get damaged, or the wiring will be damaged, and there is a problem of short circuiting. So to avoid such things, electric fuse is used. So electric fuse is a piece of a wire made up of metal or alloy of appropriate melting point, which can be made of aluminum, copper, iron, lead, etc. That depends on the amount of electric current that we can allow to pass through the circuit. If a larger current is there, then what will happen? I just explain it, that particular fuse, if it does not break, then what will happen? The current will flow through the appliance and it can damage the appliance, or wiring can catch a fire. So there is a problem of short circuiting. So to avoid this, electric fuse is used. So fuse is usually placed in a container of porcelain or a similar material having two metal ends. You can observe in the figure there are two metal ends or two terminals in a porcelain material. And the last topic is here, for domestic purpose, fuses are rated as 1 ampere, 2 ampere, 3 ampere, 5 ampere and 10 ampere. So I have a question for you. Let's say one electric appliance is operated such that current flowing through is 4.9 ampere. So which fuse you will use? 4 options I will give you. Let's say there is a 4 ampere fuse, 3 ampere fuse, 5 ampere fuse, and the last option is 6 ampere fuse. So you can say the answer. So the correct answer is for what? 5 ampere fuse will be used if current flowing in that particular appliance is 4.9. Why 5 ampere? If current is greater than the specified value is flowing through that particular appliance, then that particular appliance can be damaged. To avoid this, we use a fuse of capacity 5 ampere, so that if current greater than 5 ampere flows through the circuit, then that fuse melts due to huge heat which is produced due to heavy current. And if fuse is broken, we will say circuit will be broken and there is no current flow through the appliance, and there will be no problem of short circuiting or any damage to the appliance. So let's see some of the numericals related with the heating effect. We discussed the heating effect, and according to Joule's law, heat energy developed is given by H is equal to I square RT. So we have four quantities: H, that is heat energy, I, that is electric current, and R is resistance, and time T, for which current is flowing through the circuit. So let's see the first numerical. So 100 joule of heat is produced each second in a 4 ohm resistance. Find the potential difference. So you know the given data here, heat energy is given, which is 100 joule, resistance is given 4 ohm, and we need to find the potential difference. So the given data we can frame like this. So given data, H is equal to 100 joule, T is time, that is 1 second, and R will be the resistance, which is 4 ohm. We need to find the potential difference. So to connect all these, we know the relation, that is Joule's law, H is equal to I square RT. So here R is given, time is given, but I is not given. So our first target is to find the I, and we know how we can find the I when R is given. From the Ohm's law, V is equal to IR, but again V is not given. So to find the I, we can use the relation H is equal to I square RT, as other three quantities are given. So that's why we can write I square is equal to H by RT. So this particular RT will go in denominator. So we can write I square is equal to H by RT. So put the value of H 100 and R as 4 ohm and time is 1 second. So we will get 100 by 4, which means I square is equal to 25. If we take square root on both sides, we will get I is equal to 5 ampere. But the question is asked V. So for V, we need I and R. R is given. You can see R is given, but we don't know I. So we cannot use V is equal to IR directly. We must find I. That's why we calculated the I here. So we know V is equal to IR. If we put the value of I 5 and that of R as 4, we will get 20 volt potential difference in this case. Let's solve second numerical. So an electric ion of resistance 20 ohm takes a current of 5 ampere, and we need to find the heat developed in 30 seconds. So we can write given data R is equal to 20 ohm and current I is equal to 5 ampere, and heat developed we need to find out for the time of 30 seconds. So again we know I, R, T and H by Joule's law of heating. H is equal to I square RT. So we will use a simple relation. So this will be our given data here: R 20 ohm, I 5 ampere, T 30 seconds, and heat energy developed we need to find out. So H is equal to I square RT. Just put the value, the square of current, that is 5 ampere is the current, so the square of 5. R is 20 and time is 30 seconds. So all are the SI units. So you must remember we should use the quantity in SI units only. So we can calculate here, we will get 15,000 joule heat energy will be developed. So as it is very big quantity, we can simplify it or write in smaller units like 15 kilojoule. So in this way we can use Joule's law of heating to find the numericals. So I hope you like the video. If you like the video, then subscribe this channel and share this video in your friends and family. In the next topic, we will see electric power. So stay tuned for further videos. So thanks for watching.